The dawn broke slow and heavy over the prairie, its first light spilling across golden fields and painting, the world in hues of fire and promise. But inside the old weather-beaten barn, there was no warmth for the young woman sitting on the cold wooden floor, her hair tangled from the night, and her spirit heavy with tears that had long dried on her cheeks. Her father had locked her inside for the sin of refusing the marriage he had arranged, a union that promised land and cattle but none of the love her heart craved. And as the iron latch clamped her fate, she whispered to herself that she would rather die in this dusty prison than give her hand to a man she did not love. Every creak of the boards above her head, every moan of the wind through the cracks felt like time, dragging chains across her chest. Yet still she held on to the memory of the cowboy with steady eyes and roughened hands, the one who had spoken to her once in quiet words beneath the cottonwoods, promising nothing but showing her more kindness in an hour than she had known in her father's house for years. It was his face she clung to now, though she had no right to expect he would come, for men like him carried burdens of their own, and the prairie was wide. Yet in her silence she prayed into the morning, not to be freed by chance, but by the courage of someone who believed she was worth saving. Outside, the horses stirred restlessly in the corral, their hooves clattering against the frozen earth as if they, too, sensed the weight of her despair, and the sky stretched pale pink, slowly brightening with the approach of day, until from the distance came the sound, low at first, then growing, the rhythmic thunder of hooves cutting across the land, sure and steady, like a heartbeat racing toward its purpose, and her breath caught as she pressed her ear to the crack in the barn wall, straining to hear, hope rising even as fear of disappointment battled in her chest. Then he was there, the cowboy riding hard, his jaw set with a grim fire, his eyes sweeping the horizon, as though he had followed her sorrow like a trail across the night. And when he reached the barn, he dismounted in one fluid motion, boots striking dust as his strong hands went to the lock, shaking it once, then twice, before he drew back, and with the strength of a man driven by more than anger, driven by love, he threw his shoulder into the door, the old wood groaning under the force until with a final crash it splintered, swinging open to flood her world with the light of morning and the sight of her deliverer standing, like some wild guardian framed in the rising sun. Her eyes widened, tears spilling anew, not from sorrow this time, but from the fierce relief of being seen, of being saved, and she stumbled forward into his arms, her voice breaking as she whispered his name, while behind them, the wind carried the sound of her father's shouts from the farmhouse, rage boiling at the defiance of his will. But the cowboy held her close and said in a low, steady voice that trembled only with determination, "You don't have to be afraid anymore. I've got you now, and no man, not even your father, will take away your choice." He pulled her into the saddle with him, his arm firm around her waist, and together they turned toward the open fields, the morning stretching before them like a promise of freedom, every hoofbeat carrying them further from the prison of her past and closer to a life built not on duty or fear but on love that had been worth fighting for. And as they rode, the barn behind them collapsing in silence like a broken chain, she looked up at him, her heart thundering with the same rhythm as the horse beneath them, and for the first time in her life, she smiled with the full knowledge that she was no longer bound by anyone's command, that she was finally free to live, to love, to choose. Their story, born in struggle, was just beginning, and as the sunrise wrapped them in light, the cowboy leaned close and whispered, "No cage could hold you. No lock could keep me away. You were always meant to be free." And in that moment, freedom tasted sweeter than the prairie winds, stronger than the iron her father had thought could control her, and more enduring than any chain ever forged. It was love that had broken the barn door at dawn, and it would be love that carried them through every storm to come. So if you believe in stories of courage, in love that defies all odds, in hope that rises with the morning light, then don't forget to subscribe to this channel, because more tales like this await, and together we'll ride into every dawn where freedom and love still reign.